Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm finally playing in one of my favourite tier 10 tank destroyers. It is the Swedish STRV 103B, and when I say finally playing in this tank, that's because really for the last 3 months I practically gave up playing this tank altogether. Now, why was that? Now, that was because whenever I seemed to play the STRV 103B, I would get matched against something like an Object 268 version 4, because there were just so many of them playing. And it's not that I personally was afraid about playing against an Object 268 version 4 in a vehicle like this, because I'm probably just going to try and track it twice, and even if I can work in and out of the siege mode of it, then I can hopefully get round to the side and I can eventually get it with my damage per minute. Obviously, if the 268 version 4 plays exceptionally well, it's probably going to dominate a STRV 103B, however, especially if that can double track you and then keep ramming you in your tracks. However, it was more of a case of when that tank was so unbalanced, and we're still going to have to see whether it's still a little bit too good, but it's definitely been nerfed incredibly so. It's not in the same league as it was before, when it was getting that kind of like 57% global win ratio on average. That's just absolutely insane. It's a case of, because the 268 version 4 was so good, when it would play against the allies on my team, it'd just be able to cut their way through. And I want to talk specifically about the roles that specific tanks have. Now, the new matchmaker, while there's definitely a lot of issues with it, like this 357 shenanigans having kind of more onus on the top tier tanks, and then if they make a mistake or they just play really badly, there can be huge issues for the team, and that can be very frustrating, especially when you're playing in a tier 8 tank, and for some reason Wargaming's put a platoon of top tier players on the enemy team, and they're all in the tier 10 tanks, and you know, they're really excellent and they're playing together super well, and then the platoon on your team is maybe kind of just messing around and having a little bit more fun. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, it kind of ruins the game for everybody who's outside of that platoon, right? But what I'm trying to highlight is that a vehicle like this, it wants to be long range, it wants to take its time, it wants vehicles, enemy tanks, to advance into a position where it can take advantage of them. However, something like a 268 version 4 was pretty much a heavy tank destroyer, as well as being a medium tank, as well as being, well, you get my point, practically everything. But those heavily armored tanks, the ones that don't rely on players to advance into positions to take advantage of, allow the team to then kind of like gel around them, and that was what was so important about that vehicle. I don't know why I'm talking about it in the past tense. It's still in the game, it's just I'm not sure if it's going to be played in remotely the same amount that it was previously. But what I'm trying to highlight here is that Wargaming have made great leaps and bounds with the matchmaker, specifically to try and match up vehicles against each other. You know, heavy tanks against heavy tanks, tank destroyers against tank destroyers, and they've also tried to class some of the vehicles, I believe. I think they try to match super heavies against each other, something like a Type 5 heavy against a Mouse against an E100, for example. But it doesn't quite look like they've done the same with tank destroyers, at least yet. And because something like a Jagdpanzer E100 matches up against a STRV 103B, and when there's an artillery as well at tier 10, it can be immensely tricky. Before I highlight that in more detail, I want to just focus on how good the STRV is in this situation. I actually didn't get spotted there, and so that means that I get to shut down the T49 as it comes around the corner, and then finish off the T54E1. The camera rating on this vehicle, on all of the high-tier Swedish tanks, is just absolutely outrageous when we think about it. It's one of my favourite things about playing the vehicle, is that you can just lull your enemies into a false sense of security, and then punish them with the third highest damage per minute in the game. Of course, this vehicle is not very flexible at all. It has no gun traverse, and it doesn't have a turret, and so it means that you have to literally set up in a siege mode for 2 seconds before you can even really start to engage your opponents effectively, unless you want to try and shoot them outside siege mode, which is quite a challenging thing to do. Now, this is an important part of this game. Do you notice how this IS-7 on the enemy team was just mincing my IS-7? And a lot of players might not want to sacrifice their hit points. I was pretty sure that I was going to lose 490 on average hit points there to the IS-7, because he can shoot my lower plate and he'll overmatch it every single time, because the lower plate on this vehicle is 40mm, and so the 130mm caliber gun of the Soviet tier 10 heavy will it's 3 times larger in caliber, so it will always go through the lower plate, which is one of the most frustrating things about playing this tank. But by pushing around the corner aggressively, I allowed the IS-7 on my team to not lose any more hit points. And in fact, did you notice how the enemy IS-7 didn't actually want to shoot me there? He wanted to shoot the low health tank. And so that's definitely something that really dawned on me during this replay and during that moment, that if you've got some hit points to spend and there's somebody who's a one-shot on you, don't be afraid to go around the corner. As long as you know that you can still take a hit from the enemy, it's quite likely that that enemy tank is going to try to save their shell to take out the low health vehicle before their inevitable demise. And so that really worked out to my favor, because I got to shoot for free against the IS-7 without taking the round in return. And it also worked out for my IS-7 to stay alive and hopefully give him a good chance to influence this game positively. And we've got to win it together, right? That's what the goal is here. Now we're on 5,000 damage in the first 6 minutes of this game, but unfortunately, while I wanted to help that IS-7, looks like he gets shut down by the Borsig. But considering how the Borsig is stunned, that means the Borsig is going to have a terrible reload speed, and so that means I should be able to come around the corner and finish off the Tier 8 German tank destroyer. However, now I'm going to reverse as quickly as I can because I'm worried about the artillery sitting up on this ledge here and maybe shooting, around the corner. Well, not around the corner, but should we say over the corner, over this little undulation, this spur that comes out from the mountain here, and landing one down on me. And I'm also quite concerned about the black dog on the enemy team, who I thought was last spotted in this location. I think he might be making his way back round here, or alternatively might making his way through the center. And if the black dog manages to come and get into close quarters combat with this vehicle, all it takes is for him to track my tank once, and then he's easily going to be able to retrack me, especially when the caliber of the black dog on the enemy team is like this. Very decent player there. It's going to be a challenge to be able to handle that, even if I'm in a vehicle 2 tiers high, just because my tank is not flexible at all. It's very, very, very dangerous to play this tank against a vehicle like that. Alright, so an ally, Bat Shanty on 15558, just crashed. I don't know what they were trying to do, but it kind of evens out this game a little bit. So I come over the ridge, I put one into the Type 4 Heavy there, but that's a Tier 9 Japanese heavy tank. If he's using the armor-piercing gun, he's probably going to overmatch my vehicle, and if he's using the high explosive gun, it's going to be incredibly painful for me. You notice I reversed there to be able to evade the artillery, and I turned my tank around. Now the reason why I turned my tank around is because I was expecting the black dog to come and hunt me. However, considering the T-28 has made his way over the bridge and the black dog has been spotted, now I want to in turn go and hunt the black dog. Now I noticed the black dog was on just over 400 hit points there. And so that's something I've got to take into account, because it's unlikely that I'm going to be able to kill the black dog with a single shot unless I load a high explosive round. The high explosive round will help me deal with the M53-55, 421 hit points. Oh, it's tense right now because I'm probably about a 1 in 3 chance to kill him with an armor-piercing round. And what am I doing now? He doesn't know that I'm coming for him. I think he's coming to try and either get some vision across the middle or hunt me. And his evasive maneuvers, I didn't expect him to come around the corner that quickly. And you see I have to set up in the siege mode, which was a little bit awkward. And I'm in a very tricky situation. There's going to be artillery above me on the left. What to do right now? We bounce a heat round, and I am going to go all in as the artillery hits me, use my med kit to heal my tank, and I'm going to ram him and shoot him outside the siege mode to finish off the black dog. And now there's an M40-43 trying to come down the slope above me. I believe that's the one that splashed me a little bit. No, it was actually M53-55 that splashed me. And we roll good this time, winning our 50-50 to shut down the Tier 8 American self-propelled gun. Whew! That was a very tense situation there. I was feeling very happy about that. And that kill on the self-propelled gun picks up our top gun so far. So now I was thinking, okay, let's make my way over the bridge and then try and find out where this Type 4 Heavy is. Now I'm very concerned around this corner because I'm expecting the Type 4 Heavy to maybe try and splash up at me. That's why I'm coming along here a little bit slowly. And I also want to stay to the left of this Jagdpanzer 100. And the reason why I want to stay to the left of this Jagdpanzer 100 is if I go around the right here, I'm just worried that my tracks are going to catch. And once you actually get your tracks over the edge of a bridge, there is no return as far as I can tell with the new physics. So I'm going to try and push this Jagdpanzer out the way. And this is just such a bizarre situation for this tank. He's literally smack in the middle to the side. He couldn't have made it more awkward for me. This reminds me of back in the day when vehicles couldn't actually be pushed around in World of Tanks. And oh, the Type 4 Heavy has been spotted along with our self-propelled gun up there on the ridge, but they're too far away from me now to be able to show you what action is happening. But the Type 4 Heavy shuts down the GW Tiger P, and now I've got a decision to make. Alright, so there's an ELC scouting around in the bushes there. I don't think the Type 4 Heavy will see him. And there's an FV 3805 above him, so who I think the FV is easily going to be able to interrupt the Type 4 Heavy if he stays inside the cap circle. And if he doesn't, I really want to get rid of this M5355 before he starts to land some rounds on me. Now, I don't want to go inside the cap circle here because I will alert the M5355 to my presence, and then to all intents and purposes he turns around and probably one-shots me or sets me on fire or just tracks me and runs away. So now I decide, okay, I can't really leave the Type 4 Heavy alone with my team, even though they seem to be doing a fairly good job of scouting him out. And right now, I'm not sure if the ELC even 90 is AFK. He hasn't... Oh, look, actually, if I'd scrolled up at the time, I would have been able to see that the ELC was not... See, next switch found, look all, die fast, very fast. Sorry, what? Oh, was he being a little bit mean to me? Did he think that I was going to die? Oh, well, we managed to deal with it anyway. But I was thinking the LC was AFK at the time because he wasn't saying anything, chat wasn't communicating at all. Would have been nice if he'd ping the map or if just press the F7 key or something like that to try and communicate a little bit. But it looks like the ELC is getting some good vision here on the Type 4. And there you go, the ELC presses reload key and now I know he's in play. So I'm going to swing around the left of the rocks here because I don't want to get spotted by the Type 4 Heavy. I literally want to get as close to that Tier 9 Japanese heavy tank as I possibly can before I manage to get spotted by him, because I'm going to have to enter the siege mode, come over the ridgeline slowly, and finish him off. Oh, but it's still quite tense here. He could easily, if the ELC gets spotted, he can one-shot him. He can even one-shot me if he hits pretty much underneath my tank. But, oh, this was a good feeling to see the Type 4 Heavy was aiming up at the artillery. Doesn't even manage to spot me there, I don't believe, as I came around that corner. Just showing you how sneaky these Swedish tank destroyers are. And I think it was more a case of the bush was providing me a little bit of an advantage there. But maybe he was stunned by the artillery. Okay, good stuff. Now I ask the artillery to follow me. And the reason why I say follow me is because at the time I was thinking, oh, the bridge is blocked. And I think I was reading chat from the stream at this time. And I make a bit of a misplay here. And the misplay is that I failed to tell my team that the bridge is blocked. And look, it takes me right up until now where I tell the team the bridge is blocked. But let's just go see how these guys deal with it anyway. I was quite surprised they managed to get over. Well, not so much the ELC even 90 because he's a tiny little tank. And oh, okay. That was a little bit closer than I thought. And let's see what the FV 3805 is going to do to get across this bridge. I'm quite surprised. This is a very fat tank. How's this one going to make it across? Looks like he's going to do exactly the same as the even 90 and kind of wedge his tracks in. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't have done that if I was going over the other side because I would have got my tracks off the bridge and fallen down. So that's bizarre. This was like a one-way bridge, one-way system here. Okay. Now we're trying to hunt down the M5355 on the enemy team. We've entered the cap circle, so he'll clearly know where we are. He's turned around. He misses the even 90. And this is quite surprising. The even 90 looks like actually decides to feed me the Radley Walters here, which is very nice of him. But my high explosive round rolls for 444 instead of 480. And it doesn't look like the FV3805 on my team is quite so thinking about feeding the Tier 10 Swedish tank destroyer Radley Walters medal. I wasn't bitter about it at the time or anything. I believe that you earn those medals, and as long as somebody isn't trying to actively sabotage you by kill stealing, then I've got no hard feelings about somebody wanting to pick up the kill at the end of the game, especially if it's going to be their first rather than my 8th. So a real fun game here for the Stridsvagn 103B, and it wasn't so much about the fact that we got an ace, got a high caliber, got a top gun for our 7 kills, 7,200 damage, and we hit every single round we fired and penetrated them all, as you would expect for the most accurate tank in the game. It was more of a case that I love the little things in this replay. I love that Jagdpanzer bridge block, and I like the realization that I had with the IS-7 that if you do go around the corner to enable an ally who's on very low hit points to not so much win the engagement, but to have another fight in the engagement, that in fact the enemy tank that you're going all in against might hold the shot to try and shoot your low health ally when they come around the corner. So it's like a double win for you, right? And it just feels so darn good to be able to play my tier 10 tank destroyers again and not feel like you're screwing your team over because they're going to meet an Object 268 version 4, which is more of a heavy tank, medium tank, with a tank destroyer gun that can just have such a more influential role in the majority of battles rather than playing the long-range sneaky TD role. And that is something that I've only really taken into consideration recently, and I'd really like to highlight to wargaming that when a tank is overpowered and becomes the meta, it isn't just kind of ruining the games that it's in, it's ruining the enjoyment for that class and that tier of all of the other vehicles. And so that's it for today, ladies and gents. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching it as it's released on Sunday, it's time for another World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And this week, 498 of you voted, and the winner is the new Soviet Tier 10 medium tank. It's the K91. And so come along right now as I start at Tier 1 and work my way up towards Tier 10, so you can see this kind of medium tank destroyer-esque vehicle and all of the preceding vehicles, so you can see if it's a line that's perhaps worth grinding, or alternatively, if you already have the tanks, maybe pick up a few tips and tricks along the way. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing as many of you as possible right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.